I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about some of the hostages coming home from Gaza, and we'll watch some of the videos. I don't know how much we can watch, though, because I was like getting a bit emotional myself, because especially like I saw one where I'll just try to table that till we get to that point. And but yeah, it's very emotional seeing these people come home, and I'm glad to see it. President Trump, I saw a video of some of his fiercest critics, giving him kudos and saying, "Oh, well, this probably wouldn't happen under Harris." So, it's a good thing that, Trump was triumphant last November, and I haven't liked everything that he's done, but I certainly am glad for much of it. And um yeah, I don't think we'd be seeing this right now. I think we'd still be continuing seeing more war and Israel being pressured to, I don't know, commit to maybe a two-state solution, which would just be bad, and maybe trickling out hostages, and I don't know, more warfare. And um, I don't know how bad it would be, but I'm glad that Trump has paved the way for some peace here, and kudos to the Israelis for not buckling, and they have now achieved their military, well, they got their hostages back. They still need to demilitarize like Hamas and all that stuff, but um someone said they've been crying watching these videos. I cry. I'll get to why like I was emotional like during some of these videos, but I'm glad. I just can't imagine all this, like how terrible it must have been. I can't. Oh gosh. I also want to talk about Candace Owens reading like the Quran on her show a little bit. And also Ali Stuckey was on Jubilee. I started watching it. I've seen a lot of clips. I'm not going to play any clips live because Jubilee is so picky about you using their clips, and they will not grant it for like free use and stuff. So to like demonetize the whole episode, like I'll have like no shot. So they're just really really picky. Even if you were like, hey, fair use, even if it's short, they'll want to get you. So and then you can appeal it, and then they won't accept the appeal. So um but she just did an amazing job. And at least from some of the, I've seen a lot of the exchanges, but I decided to go back and watch it in full, and so I'm still like on the first prompt. But like so if you don't know Beth Stuckley, she hosts a show called Relatable, and she also wrote a book called Toxic Empathy, about how like progressive Christians like are basic, or I guess Christians in general are being like duped into affirming sin and things like that. I haven't read the book. I should probably pick it up. I thought about especially picking it up after what happened to Charlie Kirk, because I'm like, yeah, toxic empathy is probably part of the reason why, he's gone, at least that mentality of like you have to affirm and you're bad if you don't, and all this other stuff. So I just I plan to pick that up. I just haven't yet. And so she filmed that like Charlie knew that she was going to do that show, and he actually like helped her with debate prep and her prompts and stuff, and gave her advice. And they filmed it the day before his memorial. And so she thought about canceling it, but she's like, no, Charlie wouldn't want me to cancel it. So she powered through. And she said that one of the first guests that she talked to sat down and was like, I'm very sorry about your friend Charlie. And I thought that was so nice of her to share that, because it's not like included in the video. And it's good to see and to know. And hopefully all these people, they're progressive Christians. So hopefully, like, they're I think they're in error with a lot of things, but hopefully, they're trying to live out some of the fruits of the spirit. So maybe this shouldn't be so surprising. But we've just seen so much darkness from the other side of the aisle since Charlie was killed. And it's just a good reminder. Like, I know everybody's not evil or whatever, and not everybody was celebrating it. There's plenty of people who weren't and condemned it. Um, but it's just nice to see, people have compassion and sympathy for other people and not be like total monsters about it. So I was glad that she shared that, and just to humanize the other side, and just like, we disagree on maybe many things, but that doesn't mean that one side is evil or whatever. Like, I often say I hate when people say that you can't be a Christian and a Democrat. I'm like, no, they just probably are saying the scriptures maybe similar to what we're saying, but they're just kind of interpreting them uh politically different, in a different sort of way. Like, when they hear like, okay, we got to take care of the widows and the orphans, instead of them saying, okay, let me take that money out of my own pocket, they're like, we can legislate, that, and the government will be doing those things. Now, I don't think that's charity when you're like telling the government to take other people's money and then redistribute it. But we can have a conversation about that. Their heart might be in the right place, they're just executing in the wrong way. So I think they're in error, but I don't think they're doing it out of like malice or to be evil or something like that. We just have a disagreement, and maybe we can talk those things out. But they are trying to live out maybe their Christian ethic. They're just not doing it in the right way. Um, so I don't like when people say things like that. And I try not to. I don't know if I've ever said that. I certainly haven't said in a long time, and I really try not to. And I do push back against people who make that claim. Um, but yeah, she did a really good job from what I'm seeing. I did get to a part where the second person she talked to, because her first claim was about marriage and how the only like um allowed marriage, or one that's like holy in the eyes of God, is between one man and one woman. And so this guy Tim came on and tried to push back, and like, well, the Bible has polygamy. What about David? And I'm like, there's an instruction in Deuteronomy, and she did mention this, about what your kings are supposed to do, and one of those instructions is they're not supposed to have many wives. And the reason why they're not supposed to have many wives is because those wives will turn their hearts from God. And if you look at King Solomon, the Bible was right on the money. God was right on the money about that, because he had so many wives and was trying to appease them, and they had all their gods. And so he started bringing that in. And then at the, by the end of things with him, people were like sacrificing children and doing like, they looked like totally pagan. So it's not good to have all those wives. Because I'm like, the first one you mentioned was David. And she's like, there's a difference between descriptive and prescriptive, which he acknowledged. And she just it was like, David did a lot of things he wasn't supposed to do. He committed adultery, he committed murder, like and then took that as another wife. So just because bad things happen in the Bible or people do bad things doesn't mean that God is for that. But there is a passage in Deuteronomy 17:17 about how kings are not supposed to take many wives, and it's because of how they will draw their hearts away from God. And that's exactly what happened. And every time in the Bible, I think just about every time that I can think of, there's always drama when there's more than one wife. With Hannah and Penina, Hannah was the one who was favored by her husband, but she was barren, until she prayed and prayed. And but Penina had all these kids, and she would mock her and torment her. Like, that's not a good situation. Like, Rachel and Leah, like, one was favored, one wasn't. Like, he only meant to marry one of them anyway. But like, he got tricked. So it's of course Solomon. There's it just Abraham in a surrogate situation that didn't work out too good. Like, it's never a good situation when there's like these multiple wives. It's always like more drama, like more money. Well, not more money, like more. Allie kept saying like more wives, more problems, or something like that. It's obvious, but I mean, the reason why he was trying to push that was to say like, okay, the Bible doesn't say like one man, one woman, so you can, I guess, have other marriages or whatever. He ended up getting voted out, but anyway, it was a good show, and she's getting a lot of compliments for good reason. And the abortion segment, I'm really looking forward to. I've seen a lot of those clips already though, and I'm not gonna play them because again, Jubilee is just like really about it. So anyway, I'm still in my intro, guys. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. We had a painting class. My youngest sister does painting classes, and as you guys know, I want to arrange some painting classes with me and some of you. And so we're gonna do an online one. I said, Tina, let's just go ahead and make the date. And I know some of you signed the interest form or whatever. So they're both probably. I was thinking they'd both be before the end of this month, but we have our book signing. And it's just getting kind of close. And if you guys need stuff mailed to you, you need a little more time. So I will probably have the ticket stuff. I'll have to have her make the page on her website. I'm going to ask her to do that today. So hopefully tomorrow we'll get that set up. So I'm thinking we could change our mind by tomorrow, but that we'll have an in-person one on the 1st of November. So that'll be in the afternoon, like the evening, maybe like 6 o'clock or something like that. And then on the Tuesday, the 4th, is probably when we're going to do the online painting class. And so the online one, it's going to be like a seasonal image. And on the first one we do the in-person one, it's going to be something patriotic. So I want to show you guys my painting. So we did it for like the church, and it was painting with a praise. So she taught out of like it was based off of Psalms 121. So she did a little sermon about it, and then she taught us how to paint her painting. So everybody painted the same thing, and I don't know how you guys can see this, but yeah. So we started off with like the base with the blue sky, and then we started, adding the sunset stuff and like the hills, and then we got to the grass, and like the last thing we made was like the sheep, and like added other details like grass and like the rock and stuff. So that's my painting. That's my painting. So I wish I had a little more time with the sky, but to add just a little more clouds and stuff. But I liked it. Oh, thank you, Bailey. Bailey said, wow. So I have not painted in like 18 years. I had I was in like art school. Not art school. In school I had a bunch of art classes. And so I did some acrylic painting and stuff then or whatever. The last thing I painted after I went to CCS for like animation for like a little bit. I was there for a semester, and I just didn't have the money to keep going on. And I ended up painting a mural of Jesus over a baptismal pool, and it was 8 feet by 11 feet. It was huge. And I had to like build like a floor because it was over the baptismal, and like rent a scaffold to even be able to do it. And it came out really nice, but that was probably like the last thing I painted that I can think of. And that was like 18 years ago. So long time ago now. Um so I haven't done it in a minute. So I think she was a really, really good teacher. She's very attentive, to folks. And I was trying to think back, like with learning how to paint and doing stuff in art class, and I'm like, I feel like she's better than what you get like in school. And I'm not talking about like generic like art classes. I had like elective like studio art and stuff like that. And I did like my art teacher, don't get me wrong, but as far as like, and that was a long time ago, so um I guess I could be wrong, but just like kind of her details on how she walked kind of step by step through the paintings and stuff. I just feel like she was really top tier. So if you guys want to participate in that, we're gonna have a really good time, and it'll be fun. And if you're worried about your painting, like and don't think you can do it, I think you can. I think you can. Yours is gonna look like hers, and yours isn't gonna look like mine. It's gonna, but everybody's look different, but everybody's turned out, quite good. So that'll be really fun. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And last thing before we start watching videos and crying, uh, I do want to remind you guys about Bigger. You guys can pre-order it. There's a link where you can pre-order it. You get in paperback. You guys can get it in the hardcover. And if you are in Michigan or you want to travel, whatever, on the 25th of October, we are having a book signing. And so I'll be doing readings, and so it's going to be like from 2 to 7. And so we're going to break it down and have like 2 periods of like when we're doing like a reading and then a Q&A, and then it's going to go into Tina teaching how to draw. And then there's going to be a little break from that, and then we're going to do that again because I don't know when people are working, when they're going to be able to pick up their kids to do all that stuff. So I just wanted to break it up in like 2 different sections of when people can participate in that. So, and then I guess by the end of the day, it'll probably just be like last minute adults coming in to just say congrats and picking up the book and leaving, is by assumption. But it should be really fun. It should be really, really fun. And if you can't make it out, you guys can still get a signed copy. Just go to the website and pick it up. Okie dokie. So I'm really, really glad that the hostages have made it home. I was really worried that there wouldn't be anyone to make it home. And I was always surprised when I heard that anyone was alive. And to think about all this stuff going on, how like horrific it was, it just it was how heartbreaking it must be for the families. Just thinking about different situations where you don't know if they're going to be okay. Like when my sister had her last baby, um, when we came in the hospital, it was me and my mom, and there was like all these doctors, and we were like, this is jarring. And so they downplayed how like serious it was. But she went home, and then she got like sepsis or preeclampsia or something like that. But if she had waited like another day or two, she wouldn't be on this earth any longer. But she went back to the hospital, and I couldn't go to the hospital. Someone needed to stay with her and take care of her baby, and her husband couldn't be there the whole time. So my mom ended up going up there, and I was sick and I had a cold, and I'm just like, I don't want to make her baby sick, and I don't want to make her like more sick. So I just felt terrible because I wanted to help. And just waiting um until she got to that point where she was okay. It was just hard, so I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine getting that news. um I can imagine getting the news that someone has died. um you know um that they were horrifically murdered. No, I can't imagine that kind of news. um but to be taken and kidnapped and held for like 2 years. Um I I can't imagine how heartbreaking and awful, how much of a nightmare it was for these people to go through that. And I talked about this before, but like it upset me so much seeing so many people like on the left or even on the right, people who are like, I'm America first. I'm so America first, but you don't care about the Americans who were kidnapped and murdered. Like, don't you want those people back? We didn't get all our American hostages back till May. But I don't see like the driver like we got to do whatever it takes. We got to get them back home. That's what's important. They got to get back on American. So I didn't see that sort of attitudes. Um as a matter of fact, I saw people like kind of dismiss it sometimes. They're like, well, they're like they got dual citizenship or something like that. Um, just really, really, I don't know, horrific how some people acted. Because I'm like, if when I went to the Philippines, I had full confidence that the American government was going to get me home if something happened. So, um, I don't know. Even just thinking about those early videos right after October 7th, when people were posting photos of the people who were kidnapped and people tearing down photos of elderly people and babies because what? They're just angry that they were Jews, that these were Israelis in pain and missing. And it wasn't too long ago when there were people who were still like protesting and marching peacefully for these people who were overseas, and someone decided to like hit them with Molotov cocktails in the United States of America. Um, there was just so much evil in this world. Not was, there still is. But I'm so glad that these people are home. I'm so glad that these people are home. Hamas is apparently, from what I heard, delaying some of the return of some of the bodies. Um, so I definitely don't think that they need to return all of the bodies before we start releasing the prisoners. In my opinion, I saw Dave Smith refer to it as a hostage swap. It's like it's not a hostage swap. They're Israel is swapping like 20 people for like 2,000 criminals. Some of them being, terrorists and other things like that. It's not a hostage swap. It's really disrespectful to refer to it like that. And I don't understand the motivation of referring to it like that. Like, I don't think Dave Smith is an anti-Semite, but I just, and that word gets overused, but I don't understand the motivation of that sort of a dishonesty. And maybe he doesn't feel he's being dishonest, or moral blindness. Maybe it's just moral blindness. I don't know. But here's some scenes to make you cry. I don't know what they're all saying, but you can imagine. Oh boy. I don't know how many we can watch because um there was a family who one of the families, they said they didn't know that they were um still alive until like February. They didn't know that they had survived. And here it is. Sagev Kefan's family didn't know that he had survived the October 7th attack until February, when they heard from a released hostage that he was alive. Today, after 738 days in captivity, he's finally returned to his family. I just so, when I had read that earlier about how they didn't even know he was alive until earlier this year, it just it just made me think of my mom and how we lost her. And sometimes I know me and some of my other sisters, sometimes it's like, I guess you're used to the reality, but sometimes you just want to wake up and be like, oh, that was just a dream, like that was just a nightmare. So they had to live with that nightmare for so long, and to hear that they were alive and to now have them, and even like hearing his family wail like that, it just I mean, it's like happy wailing, but it kind of even reminded me like my brother when we were on the phone and they told us about our mom. And um it's I'm sorry. Oh, so yeah, I I don't think we can watch anymore, not together. uh I don't think we can watch anymore together, but you guys can find them all over X. I'm sure. Oh, but yeah, this is a great thing. And people who are like, oh, I don't like what Israel's doing. They need to just end the war. They need to wrap it up. How are they going to wrap it up without victory? How are they going to wrap it up? Like, there was one point in this war where they were concerned about Hezbollah and all these other groups attacking them, and Israel had to turn around and kill all those folks too. And then Trump had to get like all these other, Arab countries and stuff on board to have to force pressure on Hamas and stuff for them to even agree to the deal. And who knows what they're going to do after this, but at least they have their hostages back. At least there's that. When people are like, it just needs to end. I don't like what Israel's doing. I don't like what Israel's doing. Were they supposed to pack it up and go home and be like, oh, we tried? They had an obligation to get these people home. War is not it's not fun, it's not pretty. Hamas could have always returned the hostages. Of course, there were civilians who held some of the hostages and treated them unwell. And people celebrated when they were brought into Gaza. They're millionaires, billionaires, maybe even offering money to people if they would just offer some kind of information that would lead to them being rescued. And I don't think anyone took them up on any offers. And Israel had an obligation to get these people home. So I don't understand the war is very messy, but the ethics of this war just couldn't be more plain to me. And I don't understand. Like when people are like, someone's paying you $7,000. Nobody has to pay me $7,000. And if you've been following me for a while, you know my views on this hasn't changed. It hasn't, like, in the least bit. And I've always been like a Zionist, and a Zionist just means you believe Israel has a right to exist. I don't know what other kind of negative connotations people want to like attach to it when they like say it with such like spite and with their nose all like crinkle, like, you Zionists. Like, what is yeah, I believe Israel has a right to exist. That doesn't mean you got to support Bibi Netanyahu. That doesn't mean you got to support everything the Israeli government does or have any kind of allegiance to them or anything like that. It just means you believe that they have a right to exist in that land. Yeah, but no one's got to pay me for my views. Like I saw someone called the older millennial. He did a video and he's like, no one has to pay me to be against like Palestine. He's like, if Gaza was at war with basically any country, he's like, even other Arab countries, he's like, I'm taking their side. And we were like, dang. So Donald Trump and Bibi and they did the right thing. They did the right thing. As I said, I cannot with the more videos. But I do want to play this video of Sam. I think it's maybe it's in my maybe I retweeted it. Oh, there are some Democrats who are giving kudos to President Trump and noting that we just wouldn't be here in this situation if it was like somebody else. And Sam Harris had like ultimate Trump derangement syndrome. So this is a pretty interesting clip.
Trump got a deal done. And that's something I don't believe you believe would have happened under a President Harris.
It pains me somewhat to admit this, but yes, he's certainly been good for the Middle East and for Israel in a way that I don't think there was any reason to expect Harris to be good. And Biden certainly wasn't good, apart from the first few weeks after October 7th, or maybe a couple of months after October 7th.
Trump got a deal done.
So we'll take it. For those of you who don't are familiar with Sam Harris, he's a big atheist, but he said that he wouldn't have cared if like Hunter Biden's laptop had like corpses of dead children on it or whatever. Like he didn't care. Like he thought it was still like important for Trump not to win, and he didn't care. There was obviously a conspiracy to suppress the laptop, and he thought even just stuff with Trump and Trump University was enough for him to not be president. And it was really crazy how in the deep end that he was with his like Trump derangement stuff. And we had talked before the election. We analyzed a video with him and Ben Shapiro like debating Trump v. Harris, and Sam Harris here took the position of being pro Kamala Harris. And Trump hasn't done everything right. I haven't agreed with everything that he's done. I think some of his tariff policies haven't been great or whatever. But and then sometimes when he's went beyond the immigration stuff, like there are certain industries where he's like, no, these people have been here a long time and they need to farm or something. Like I'm like, that seems unfair to specifically do that for that industry and not other ones. So I could list some different things that I have not been fond of Trump over. But obviously he did something that other presidents wouldn't have been able to accomplish, especially not Harris and not Biden and not Obama, not with Ben Rhodes and all his like anti-Israel people in his cabinet and stuff. It just wouldn't have happened. And Obama did a lengthy post, about the end of the war, and he didn't mention Trump, and Don Jr. called him out. I even saw on CNN Abby Phillips like mention, like, it seems kind of messed up to not give a shout out to President Trump, who actually like got the deal done. But it seems, I understand that they don't like him. I understand that, but it is what it is. And you can at least be man enough to admit it's a good thing. It's a good thing when the president of the country you live in does a good thing, even if you don't like them. Even if you don't like them. I'm very glad that Sam Harris was able to acknowledge this stuff. There's also a video of Condoleezza mentioning Trump too, and Hillary Clinton was on there too, but it seemed like she tried to like derail it a little bit, but
because ultimately the Palestinian people have to own this solution. And we're a long way from that. But for right now, right at this moment, the Trump administration deserves a lot of credit for the broad-based support that this 20-point plan has.
It's an excellent point. And on that,
and Nora, if I could just add, if I could just add, because I think it's important to put the context around this, as Condi did, with the dismantling of Hezbollah, with the successful attacks on Iran, and with a new regime in Syria that is looking for some kind of accommodation with Israel, this set of conditions has never existed in recent times. And so shame on us if we don't take advantage of it. And also, it should encourage the regional powers to see it as an opening that we've never had before.
so I mean, obviously they can recognize that there's good stuff going on in the world right now. Hillary saying, well, we would just be stupid not to take advantage of what's going on in the world. Okay, but what happened in the world right now get done? How did it happen? How did it happen? How did it happen, Hillary? Like, how did it happen? Israel kept pursuing their enemies, taking out their enemies, and Trump was in support of them doing that as well. Was in support of them taking out the Iran nuclear facilities and all that stuff. So, you know, I think if we did get like Kamala Harris as president, I think Israel should have just went ahead and did what they needed to do, and just, I don't know. Trump said Israel can't fight the whole world or whatever. I mean, I guess they can mostly fight the whole world if the United States is with them, but they would have had to just risk it. In my opinion, they have an obligation to keep their people safe. And when there's an existential threat, someone with a country with a nuclear power with nuclear power like that, or getting close to it, that want to wipe you out from the face of the planet, you got to do something. And that preemptive strike was good. And it was good for us too, because they want to kill us too. I don't understand these isolationists that just won't grasp the ideological nature of the enemy here. There's a lot of people who hate because they're neighbors and they want stuff and something was done to them, so they want revenge or whatever. But like Dave Smith talking to Coleman Hughes about like 9/11 and Osama bin Laden, and Coleman pointing out like the factor here is Islam. Like, they wouldn't have flown the planes into the buildings if not for the radical Islam. And Dave just kind of kept like, nah, well, we did other stuff in the world, and that's why they were upset. And you could be upset over stuff, but flying the planes and no, there's it and Osama bin Laden wrote stuff about like why they did what they did. And I don't understand why Dave or Glenn Greenwald and other people, when they mention Osama bin Laden's motivation, that they don't bring up Quran. And because he said he was calling us to Islam, that they wanted revenge because we, participated in the creation or support the state of Israel, their creation, and as long as they existed, it's like an egregious thing, and they want revenge on them, Israel, and revenge on us. They won't stop till they're gone, and they believe that they're the true inheritors of that land because they're the ones who believe in all the prophets. And they talked about sexual immorality of Bill Clinton and other things like that. So they are ideologues. They have their dogma, and it is central to why they feel like they can attack us, why they're morally in the right to do so. And they feel they have that authority. Basically, we're going to get what's coming to us, especially because we're infidels. I don't understand why people don't want to wrap their minds around that and accept that, especially when they wrote it down. And it's one thing if you don't believe them, but why do you not even like really acknowledge it and mention it? Like, I've heard them bring up this stuff before, and I'm like, why are we ignoring what they said? Like, it's, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, I wanted to, oh gosh, this wasn't like what I planned to show you guys today, with my intro, but I want to show you guys, this is moving on to a different topic, but Don Lemon, did like a man on the street video, about immigration, and it is so funny.
Okay, crossing the border illegally is not a crime?
No, it's not a criminal act. It's a
Okay.
misdemeanor.
So why are they being sent back and saying that they're breaking the law?
That's the point.
Okay, as somebody that
We don't know if they're breaking the law because they won't tell. There's no due process. Where's the evidence? That's the whole point. And if they are breaking the law, most people will say, okay, then they need to go if they're criminals. But if they're not, why are they being rounded up and sent out? Especially when he promised to deport the criminals. He's not doing that.
Yeah, I don't think we're going.
Misdemeanor is not a crime.
Yeah.
So misdemeanor is not
It's
a
not
crime?
a criminal act. No, if you get charged with a misdemeanor, that's not a
So
criminal
why
act.
get charged at all then? If it's not a criminal act.
Because we have different levels of crime. Everything is not the same.
So it is crime.
No,
It's just
we have
different
we
levels.
have different levels of. I shouldn't say crime, but it's not It's not a crime. You're not breaking the law. I mean, you are breaking the law, but it's not a criminal act.
So it's breaking the law.
It's
No,
breaking the law, but it's
you're
just
not breaking the
different
law.
level
The
of
misdemeanor is not
crime.
breaking the law.
No.
If you're speeding, drinking, get pulled over, DUI.
That's not a criminal act. Well, no,
It's a
if you're
misdemeanor.
speeding is a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor.
Right.
So it's still breaking the law.
Okay, well, if you want to qualify that, we're doing semantics.
Because
But what
when
I'm
you
saying,
get pulled over-
but what I'm trying to tell you is everything is not the same. It's all not one thing.
But is it the law?
What is it? The law that what?
Is it a law to come
Is
over
there a
legally?
law?
Is there a law?
There are rules that processes that you should follow. Yeah, so you're breaking rules. You're breaking the rules, but you're not necessarily breaking a law.
So what happens when you break the rules?
Then you suffer the consequences. But the consequences should not. Look, no one is saying no one should suffer the consequences. You guys are getting things mixed up.
Like, it's just a semantics game. I'm pretty sure Don Lemon there was the one trying to play the semantics game. Yeah, it is a law that you're breaking if you legally cross the border. Okay. And the remedy, whether it's a misdemeanor or not, is to go back where you came from. Like, we talked about this a bit like last week, so on Jackie Hill Perry's podcast, she had someone on there. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he talked about one thing that like right-wing Christians get wrong is like how we treat immigrants. I'm like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Like, right-wing Christians such as myself will go to other countries and do mission work and try to get people saved, try to help them through financial hardship. We'll risk our lives, literally risk our lives. They might build, I don't know, huts in homes and hospitals and all kinds of stuff, like take blankets and other things for like orphanages and send money over for the families and whatnot. All kinds of things that we might do to people in other overseas. But if you legally come here, I don't think it's cruel to send you back for free where you belong. And Trump, like when they were saying, hey, you can self-deport, they were like offering to also give people money like when they left too. Like, it's not cruel. It's not cruel to send people back where they belong when they're not supposed to be here. There are way worse things that we could do. You think in other countries it's just so nice? You could just get a free plane trip back? What if you get pulled? You take the wrong turn in a country somewhere, and you end up detained in prison or something. Like, it's so dumb. There's another video of John Lemon talking to Cam Higbee, and it is really dumb. It is really dumb. I'll have to see if I don't know if it's in my feed somewhere. But let me see if I can find it. I think they were talking about I don't know if it was about violence or transgenderism or something. But Cam was doing like a man on the street video. And the funny thing is Don Lemon had a show on CNN. And Don Lemon could say some dumb things, but Don Lemon's show, I don't feel like he was always dumb all the time. But his man on the street videos, I don't know, maybe he's just really, really trying to appeal to an audience that is probably too young for him, really. But so he has to dumb his takes down to appeal to the very, very far left, and it's just not working out for him. And he just looks ridiculous. I might have saw it on TikTok. Let me search for it real quick. But I think it's funny. Okay. Cam posted it himself. So, and I did like it. It's just further down on my feed. Here we go.
But he did not say MS-13.
Exactly. He was speaking in the context.
They're bringing crime.
He didn't mention
they're bringing drugs. They're
bringing
bringing crime. They're rapists, and some of them, I imagine, are good people. That's the quote. He never said anything about MS-13.
Hold up. So let's for a second assume that he was not talking about MS-13. What's the problem with the quote?
What's the problem?
Yes.
You're qualifying a whole group of people as bringing drugs and crimes and rapists.
You just admitted that he admitted some of them are good people. But do you deny that Mexican cartels are coming up from Mexico and bringing gangs and rape and drugs? There's enough fentanyl that comes across this border every single year
filled with
to kill
gangs.
every
You guys
American
created
by
that
overdose.
What you're doing, though, is you're looking.
The first gangs were fucking white to European gangs.
The cops are here.
Here, we gotta get behind.
the barrier. No, the reason that people think it's racist is because he didn't say immigrants are good people who actually contribute to our society. But hang on.
He knows this.
Hold on. Let me get my thought out. He didn't say, immigrants are good people and they contribute to society. They pay into an income tax system or a healthcare system that they get no benefits from, and we need to both. Yes, undocumented.
It goes for Trump. It goes without saying. He's an illegal immigrant himself. Undocumented immigrants. Look at the House Committee on Budget. The net fiscal drain of an illegal immigrant is $68,000 per person.
Undocumented immigrants do pay into the system.
They do, but not enough to offset the amount of social welfare they use. The House Committee on Budget did a report on this with the Center of
to offset the amount of social welfare that Americans use. That documented.
You finish, but you don't let me respond. The net fiscal drain of an illegal immigrant, according to the House Committee on Budget, is $68,000 per person. The formula for that is social welfare used minus taxes paid.
Yeah. You're not factoring in the number of Americans who are documented who drain the system. That's way more than people who are documented or undocumented.
Illegals or illegals.
Because it's very relevant. Because you're only because it's important to have a conversation about people who are Americans who are documented who drain the system as well.
No,
of course you support legal immigration.
Right, and the president is an immigrant. So, what's the point here?
The president is not an immigrant.
He's a second-generation immigrant. His wife is a first-generation immigrant. All of his children are second-generation
were immigrants.
He's a second-generation immigrant.
That's like saying that. It's like saying that I am.
His wife is a first-generation.
That's like saying that I am. Okay, so he's a descendant of an immigrant, but
he's not a second-generation immigrant.
Okay, that's like saying that I'm an enslaved person. You say that I'm an enslaved person. No, I'm a descendant of
2 generations away from an enslaved person.
How do you know?
Because nobody was enslaved 2 generations ago.
Yes, they were. There were people who were enslaved in indentured servants 2 generations ago. Did you ever go to the South and see?
2 generations ago.
Slavery was
abolished like what, 200 years ago. In the North, slavery was abolished in 1804, 5 years before Lincoln was even born. And in the South, it was abolished in 1860. Was your mother a slave?
You become a fucking slave.
My mother was born in the 40s. My grandmother was born in the early 1900s, and before that,
Okay, was
those
she a
descendants
slave?
were
Were
slaves.
either of them a slave?
Yes, no, but my
No,
great
no, they weren't.
my great
Okay, so that's my
grandmother,
question.
my
They're not.
great grandmother was a slave.
No, they're not. Donald Trump.
Oh my God, you're going to tell me what my great grandmother was a
She
slave?
wasn't a chattel slave. Chattel slave.
Timu Charlie.
So there's more, but there's comparing Cam mentioning that Donald Trump is like a first generation immigrant, and then be like, well, that's like saying I'm a slave. It's so desperately stupid. So I don't think Don is this dumb. I think if you like go back into like his really early like kind of CNN days, it doesn't come off as this dumb. Like, I'm not saying you can't find dumb segments of like Don Lemon on CNN. You certainly can, but I just feel like when you are playing theatrical games to a crowd, you start to lose your sense of self and sense of reason, and that's why he's coming off saying things that are so radically stupid. And even the going back to the Trump quote about the they're bringing their drugs, they're bringing their rapists, and he said some I assume are good people, and be like, well, that's racist. Like, it's not racist. Like, I did a debunking top 10 Trump myths video some time ago, and it was like 10 of the most things I thought were like the most impactful Trump like myths or whatever that people like Trump hoaxes that people pushed that really hurt him. And one of the things that made the list was, and this was pretty I think it was rated pretty high on the list, was Trump said all Mexicans are rapists. That's what people were saying, if you recall, back in like 2016 and so on. Trump didn't say that. And Scott Adams had a real good way of like unwinding people from that sort of mentality. Like, do you really think that Trump thinks all Mexicans are rapists? Like, do you think he thinks like the babies are? Like, what about the women? And like, no, I don't think he thinks all women are okay. Like, okay, if he doesn't think babies are and women are rapists, like surely there's like some men that he doesn't think are rape. Just like it's not possible really for him to believe that all of them are rapists. So, like, do you really think that's what he meant? It wasn't what he said. And he says some I assume are good people. But if you go back and watch that, and he talks about the drugs coming in and all this other stuff, like we've seen too many times. One is too many times, but too many times we've seen arrests of these illegal aliens who have committed rape against women, not even just grown women, but young women. And they shouldn't be here in this country. It's bad when anybody does it, whether they're born here or not. But these people aren't supposed to be here. And then we have this major fentanyl problem. So when you go back and actually listen to the whole thing, and I tried to put the whole thing on TikTok, and man, they took it down real quick. I think they muted it. And I couldn't appeal it. And I'm like, why won't you let me play this whole clip? And in other places, they'll just kind of flag it for like copyright or whatever. So they don't want people to see the whole thing, I'm sure. That will absolve Trump. But if you watch the whole thing, and I do play a lot of it in my Trump hoaxes video, which I think I tried to post that clip on TikTok, and they like would not let it stand and be alive and flourish on that app. What did he say that was wrong? There were no lies told. But sometimes people want to be offended rather than tell the truth. So Don is going back to these bag of tricks. He's probably smart enough to know that what Trump said wasn't racist, but he's trying to appeal to these far left people because he got canned from CNN. And he's trying to make sure they can keep making Don Lemon money or whatever the heck that is. And he has to make himself look like a dang fool. And Cam, I don't know if you guys follow Cam, but Cam is pretty darn smart. And he started to do campus tour stuff, like just kind of show up with a friend of his and like asking questions and so on. I did not talk about this with you guys or show the video, and I'll have to like maybe show it another day. Maybe we'll look at it this week. But he and his friend, I don't know his friend's name. I've seen him around, but I can't think of his name. They went to an HBCU, I think in Tennessee, and they were like shouted down by the students, and the police had to escort them off of campus for their safety. And it was just so embarrassing to watch. It was so shameful, the behavior. And the school like stood up for the students. And basically they did nothing wrong. And it was just really, really egregious. And I just really shameful. Really shameful. When I see stuff like that, I'm like, who raised you? But Cam's doing good work. So give him a follow. And Cam is one person who said that he's a non-believer, but after what happened to Charlie, he was gonna like go to church or something. So I don't know where he is on that journey. I was really glad to see it. But I hope he keeps turning to the Lord. Let's look at some of your comments before we move on. Someone with the Hillary clip, someone said she just didn't want to go to jail. Don has strong TDS. I don't even buy that his TDS is strong. Like, sometimes people are just pretending for an audience. I think Don is smarter than what he like gives off. I do. Like, I know he said really dumb stuff like Antifa is just like anti-fascism or whatever. Like, I know there's dumb things like that, but when they need to make a point, they'll like snap out of it real quick. Like, they were ignoring the riots of BLM and like how much damage was being caused and stuff. And then one night he's like, it's showing up in the polling. It's showing up in the poll. I'm like, oh, so now he can make a coherent sort of argument and stuff because you're afraid about losing the election. Now you got some sense, Don. But let's let me see how, I don't remember how the video ends, but the slavery thing was so stupid.
Dude,
Chattel slavery was abolished.
now you're qualifying what slavery is. It's chattel or whatever. And there were people who were indentured servants as well after that. And you realize people did not know that they were actually free from slavery until some years later because they wouldn't allow them to say
Take
it.
off your jacket. I'm sure you're wearing a fucking schnazi fucking.
I'm not.
Oh, Lord. Anyways, so you would sit down with him and talk. But you've been talking to me, but you don't let me get my statement
Well,
out.
it's hard. First of all, it's hard to hear you. Second of all, I think you also have not let me get my statements out as well. If you want to go somewhere quieter, I'm happy to have a dialogue with
I'm
you.
online. I don't have enough time.
I'm happy to have a civil dialogue with you. I'm actually traveling the country right now and having sit-down conversations with people who disagree with me.
But you're not the Turning Point USA supporter, or you don't belong to the organization. You said you contract.
Well, of course I support Turning Point. I contract report for them. Like I go to protests and do coverage for them. I'm not doing that right now.
Upholding white supremacy right here.
I didn't hear what you said.
This is what we have to deal with in this country.
I said, of course I support Turning Point. I contract report for them sometimes, but I'm not currently doing that. Like, I'm not out here for Turning Point right now.
Pretty bigoted of you.
I noticed that guy holding the Mexican flag is saying, "Oh, we got to do with this country white supremacy." Like, bro, you're flying a foreign flag. Like, Cam is not a white supremacist.
Thank you. How are folks receiving you out here? How have you been received out here?
Well, actually, some people I've had really good conversations with. Like, there's a transgender individual out here somewhere, and she's a journalist as well. And she's come over and had several conversations with me. We just sit down and we talk. When it's quieter, it's much easier to have discussions back and forth where we hear each other out and stuff like that. But
why did you come?
Why did I come to document?
And it's like, how are you received? There's a guy calling a white supremacist holding a Mexican flag behind him. Like, what do you think? Oh, Don. Cam is going places for sure. Cam had he had 1 million followers at one point on TikTok, and then they deleted his account, and then he started back over. I don't know how many he has now. He's probably like 600,000 or something like that. But he does high quality videos. They're well researched. His logic is pretty sound, and he went over to Israel not too long ago, and went to like I think he was like in the journalist kind of area, like not in like, I think he was like where they I think about Nate Buzz, maybe he might have been in the area where they're distributing food, but maybe I might be confusing with Nate Buzz. But I know he went to like the music festival site, and he saw the Israeli video, which I did see was on Amazon. I have not watched it yet. You'd have to pay for it though. I'm not saying it's not worth paying for. I just think it's a little weird, I guess, because if the goal of it being on Amazon is for more people to see it. I just don't kind of understand why there's like a rent to buy, but I don't know. Maybe it's just to offset like the cost of them having it up on there or whatever. I don't know what kind of arrangement it was, but you can't watch it for free. Like even if you have Prime, you have to rent or buy it. So, I did want to see it, but I don't know. I don't know how much I can. I don't know. I'm a big softie these days. Last thing I want to talk about before I let you guys go, because we are been talking for more than an hour. Is this video of Candace Owens. She had closed out her show with a super chat. With a verse from the Quran. And as a Christian woman, knowing that she claims to be a Christian woman, I thought it was interessante.
There's more real people, but they do have bot farms there too. Radical Rat writes, thank you very much for that donation. Hi, American Muslim fan here. In the spirit of friendship between our faiths, here is an excerpt from the Quran about Jesus, who, speaking as a baby to defend Mary's honor, said, I am the servant of God. He has given me the scripture and made me a prophet, and he has made me blessed wherever I am. God is my Lord and your Lord, so worship him. I think all of us are realizing the tremendous need for true faith right now. And I had sort of tweeted a couple of days ago that you can sense a chink in the armor of deception. Like we're learning a lot about how a lot of money has been put behind these Judeo-Christian programs, which was something that I would speak about with Charlie because he was, in fact, very interested in Catholicism. And so it is interesting to see that. I do think the evangelical community is feeling that. And let me know if you agree that people are starting to wonder, like, why does my pastor? And again, it's not every pastor, but it's too many pastors get up on a stage and preach about Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson. That is leading to broader questions. And I think in the end, all of this is good. Like the topic of faith being at the forefront of our minds worldwide is good.
Okay, so it could be that people are talking about Tucker, and I don't know how many people are talking about Megyn Kelly about all this stuff. But sorry, I got a notification that the battery was low on the laptop. So I don't know why. Okay. I don't know how many people are bringing up Megyn Kelly in sermons or whatever. They might be mentioning Tucker because I've noticed some issues with Tucker. Definitely, maybe some people are talking about Candace. I don't know how many people are. But it could just be they don't like the kind of content and they think that there's a danger to it. There could be no coordination, but Candace Owens did push out a conspiracy theory that rabbis were paying people to talk about her and had all these talking points or whatever. And she had produced some kind of letter that the church had denied or whatever. And the rabbi who she had referenced had been retired from that organization. So that stuff didn't actually pan out. But I've talked about Candace Owens in Bible studies and things like that, just to kind of warn the congregation about her, and no one paid me to do that. So, it could just be they organically just don't like your content. So there's that. Also, as far as there being a lot of money for Judeo, she doesn't really like Judeo-Christian and doesn't believe that you can be Jewish and Christian. She rejects like Messianic Jews, and David Wood, an apostate prophet, did a video talking about this Twitter thread that when she was debating someone who's a Messianic Jew and stuff, and people were like, it seems like she doesn't even know what that is, but she's like, no, once you're a Christian, you can't be Jewish, and till it's Paul, but whatever. So she rejects this Judeo-Christian values sort of thing anyway. There is a lot of like money though involved in it. That's true. There's some big ministries, like John Hagee has a, pro-Israel group, but they've been involved in that for a long time. But I just it could be like a matter of fact kind of conversation she had with Charlie. Charlie had like a show on TBN, like that was like pro-Israel and stuff. So I mean, they've just always pushed this, like, we have to support Israel kind of ideology or whatever, and that's not new. And there are groups that have existed that have always been pro-Israel, pro-Christian, and acknowledging like a friendship between those groups. Now, what's interesting, why I wanted to talk about that segment, now we'll get to the meat of it, is this American Muslim who watches Candace Owens, which she has a lot of Muslim fans, especially after she started bashing Israel a lot after October 7th, wanted to sit in that verse to be like, hey, marriage between our faiths, right? And there's this sentiment with a lot of people who aren't even Christian, but want to push an idea of like, well, Christians and Muslims should be more aligned. And it's weird that Christians and Jews would be aligned because they deny Jesus, and we Muslims at least respect Jesus. Now, I don't think it's really respectful to downgrade Jesus from God to just a prophet. I don't think it's respectful to come back like 500 years later after the fact and be like, all you guys, you actually got it wrong. We had it right. I don't find that respectful at all. And even if someone sent a super chat, which you don't have to read super chats. I don't know. She probably gets a lot of them, so I'm assuming she doesn't read them all. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't necessarily have read the super chat, but if a Muslim sent me a super chat and it was a verse of the Quran, I wouldn't have then went on to talk about it's important to have true faith, insinuating that Muslims somehow fit into that category, because they don't. They don't. I would have said thank you for your support, and but I do want to take the time to say that there is a big difference between Christianity and Islam, and Muslims do not believe that Jesus was God. They do not believe that he died on the cross for the debt of our sins, and they don't believe, and if he didn't die on the cross, he obviously didn't rise again. They do believe he's coming back. They do believe that he was a prophet. They do believe he was born of a virgin. But they don't believe what is like central to our faith. And so we're in direct contrast. So either Christianity is true or Islam is true. And I could tell you that Jesus is alive and real and God. So I encourage you to reject the lies of Islam, to study more about who Muhammad was, a warmongering, man who was not perfect by any means, who married a 6-year-old and consummated when she was 9. She was not mature and ready enough for that. That's immoral. And even when he first started getting his revelations, he thought that he was like being talked to by a demon. And he was right the first time around. But he's not a true prophet. And if you truly study Christianity, and you should, I assume you study Christianity because in Islam, it talks about how, we're supposed to follow the book. And if Islam says that, there's Muslims who also say that the book is corrupted, so they can, with all these different translations, so they can, try to say that, it was corrupted. So these parts where maybe it seems like Jesus is claiming to be God, like it was corrupted, blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't make any sense. We have all these different manuscripts where it just doesn't pan out that way. So if you really study the history of the Bible versus the history of the Quran, how they were preserved and, head to head, and then compare Jesus to Muhammad, you'll see that Christianity is not only the superior religion, it's the true faith. So I encourage you to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and your Savior, because we are all sinners who have fallen short and are in need of that Savior, and you will not make it into heaven. The only way is through Jesus Christ. I would have taken some time to preach to him. I wouldn't have been like, oh, it's important to have true faith. That's weird to me. It's not weird to me that she did that, though. It's weird if you're a Christian. And what's also interesting, I'm no scholar of the Quran, but apostate prophet who's a former Muslim talked about that video, and he had retweeted it and was like, what's interesting is in that same chapter, it like dismisses the divinity of Jesus. So so there's this verse like so she pointed to the baby. They exclaimed, how can we talk to someone who is an infant in the cradle? Jesus declared, I am truly a servant of Allah. He has destined me to be given to the scripture and to the prophet. He has made me a blessing wherever I go and bid me to establish prayer and give alms tax as long as I live, and to be kind to my mother. He has not made me arrogant or defiant. Peace be upon the day I was born, the day I die, and the day I will be raised back to life. This is Jesus, son of Mary, and this is word of truth about which they dispute. It is not for Allah to take a son. Glory be to him. When he decrees a matter, he simply tells it be, and it is. Jesus also declared, surely Allah is my Lord, your Lord, so worship him alone. This is the straight path. Yet there are various groups have offered among themselves about him, so woe to the disbelievers when they face a tremendous day. So how clearly will they hear and see on the day they will come to us, but today the wrongdoers are clearly astray, and warn them, O prophet, the day of regret, when all matters will be settled, while they are engrossed in heedlessness and disbelief, so on and so on. But yeah, they're like, oh, I want you to read this just to show like camaraderie between our faiths. By the way, the same chapter says you're wrong about your whole religion. So she just read that like propaganda. I don't like people who are like trying to undermine the relationship that Jews and Christians have had, to try to push them away and to marry the Christians to the Muslims and be like, well, we can join together on this because at least we all respect Jesus and they don't respect Jesus, but at least we respect Jesus. I don't accept that you respect Jesus, like in your way, but I don't find it respectful to reject his divinity because your pedo prophet said so 500 years later. Sorry, I don't find it respectful, and I'm not gonna be respectful to your false religion. Sorry, but I would say thank you for the super chat. But Candace Owens has also I'm not surprised that she did this because she's like run cover for them before. When she said the line about Israel has always been killing Christians and blaming Muslims. And she's like, "Oh, Hamas, oh, they steal food." And she mentions that line about Israel's always been killing Christians. My dad didn't know that, and so I said that quote on Sunday, and he was just horrified. He's like, "Why would she say that?" I'm like, "Cause she's evil." I'm like, "Cause she's evil." Dad. Someone had I'm gonna say this. Oh, here we go. I think I found it.
I would literally.
I don't know if I want to play this whole clip. It's 3 minutes long, but I don't know. Maybe we'll just play the whole thing. The Milk Bar TV posted on their account.
Really rather saw off my own foot than support Israel ever again, by the way. Never supporting that demonic nation ever again. That's like, I'm so off that train. It's crazy. I've learned way too much. Like you delivered in every way that you are supposed to deliver by just going full mask down. You often hear this word like, inhumane, right? And they don't dehumanize. You dehumanized yourself. You proved that you have to not be a human to look at what is going on in Gaza and to try to spin it as necessary, as a necessary response to October 7th. That takes somebody that is something other than human to keep doing that. And that's what you've done, and that's what you're being, and I will never be able to unsee that like the rest of the world. That's why I say it's incumbent upon us now. These are our kids that are growing up.
By the way, when people are like, "Oh, it's not a," how dare you say it's a necessary response? What is the alternative? Like, I guess we watch videos of the hostages coming back and the families crying and being so like, what was the alternative? Just to like give up and literally just wait till Hamas came and did the same thing again, which they promised to do repeatedly. They didn't say, "Oh, we felt really bad about what we did." They're happy that people like Candace Owens make content like this. They consider it to be a positive. They're happy that people on college campuses protest and shout free, free Palestine and from the river to the sea. They consider that to be a success. They wanted the children, the women, the people there to be human shields because it would inflict negative PR on Israel. And apparently the West is just weak enough to fall for it. It's part of the plan. And she is like validating Hamas and how they feel in their eyes. Like, we want to make them look as bad as possible. We don't care how many of these people have to die. They're martyrs for our cause. How and they're promising to kill them again and do another October the 7th. And they still have their hostages. What other option should Israel have taken? Especially since they go through such lengths to not kill civilians. What were they supposed to do? She doesn't have a good answer, by the way. She doesn't have a good answer. They'll just say something like, "Well, Israel's so precise. I just believe that they could do more without like killing civilians." They've done way more than other countries would have done. Way more than they have a better track record than the United States. Let's just say that. But let's keep watching her little rant.
They have been able to do it with Robert Maxwell's textbooks, raise generation people to think like I did. Like, oh my gosh, like we have to make sure that a Holocaust never happens. We have to support Israel. Nope. Now we are reading the books. We're learning about how you've executed this. You've blindfolded the entire world to what you are. And what I think you might be is possessed by a real demon. I'm Catholic. I believe in demons. And Netanyahu is very clearly a demon. And any person that supports him, like you are a part of a like totally demonic enterprise. And we're never going to be able to unsee that. Okay. Oh, it didn't happen. No, Hamas is stealing. Hamas, ISIS, all of these people are just so conveniently, these terror groups are so convenient in helping Israel expand its borders. We know that now. We're aware of these operations that you're running and constantly blaming it on Muslims, radical Muslims that you're funding always, right? We just always happen to be funding, Israel happens to be funding these groups. We're aware of what you're doing in Armenia. You're killing Christians. You've always been killing Christians. And you've always been pointing the finger at Muslims. So everyone's awake to that now. You got a little bit more than a PR problem, Bill Ackman. Okay. You have the PR solution, which is that you won. We know what you are. We see what you are. So what are you going to do now? Kill us all? That's kind of the broader question that I think you guys are going to have to ask yourselves. Pass more speech laws in America, pull the Brigitte, start suing people, demand that they're fired. The last thing is like, well, we control the courts. So we're just going to make all of you guys suffer and we're just going to bankrupt you all. Yeah, we'll see about that.
Man, she throws in a lot of stuff when she goes into these rants. Bill Ackman, of course, she spread a rumor that he had threatened Charlie Kirk at the Hamptons or whatever, which wasn't true, and everybody involved said it wasn't true. She threw in Brigitte, which she totally was asking for that lawsuit. It's funny that if you don't react enough to the accusations, they use that as evidence, and then they get mad when they do something like, okay, we're just going to sue you now. We're now at that phase. They're like, how dare you trying to bankrupt me? Well, she's the one who said she was willing to stake her whole reputation on her being a man. So if you lose everything, I guess which her husband is very rich anyway, but that's on you. You decided to make that bet. You decided to keep going and not only spread the lies and do the series and make all the money off of that, like the merchants. She started making merch with Bridget about her being a man. So it's the lawsuit is well deserved. Well deserved. But this, they're stealing food. Like, why absolve Hamas of that stuff or downplay it? That's a really serious thing. But she wanted to talk about how Israel are demons. So again, I'm not surprised that she read a bit of the Quran. She has a lot of Muslim followers who've been following her since she flipped her lid. So someone said, if Israel was truly committing a genocide, then why would they have provided so much food and aid to Gaza? Candace isn't the brightest bulb. She does not care, guys. She literally does not care. She went on Piers Morgan's show talking about, she had said stuff about genocide, and at this point in time, she wasn't saying outright that Israel was committing a genocide. And she's like, it's funny when we talk about this stuff, no one will tell me how many people need to die for it to be considered genocide. And he's like, okay, well, it's not about a number. He's like, it has to be, Piers, it has to be. He's like, no, it's about an intent. And then he read her the definition of genocide. And she's like, well, I don't know why we're getting hung up on this word. I'm like, because you use the word, Candace. You use the word. If you're going to use words, you should at least have some kind of understanding of what they are. And that's why she got into so much trouble back in the day when she said her comments about like Hitler, like his problem was it wasn't nationalism. It was, that he had ideas like he outside of Germany. He wanted to carry stuff outside of Germany. And, she considered him to be a globalist. I'm like, that's not what globalism is. And he was a nationalist, but but she didn't really know the meaning of those words. She just wanted to apply them how she wanted to apply them. And I think Candace is always she's a good storyteller and can string a narrative along, but I don't think she's ever been some kind of really deep intellectual. Last thing I want to say before I let you go is that, because I don't want to talk about this tomorrow, so hopefully I don't mention her at all tomorrow. But someone had left a comment on my feed the other day, and they left it like 5 days ago, and I didn't see it until the other day, and it was so bizarre to me. And I'm probably gonna do a TikTok about it or something, but this person is a follower of mine, so I like blocked out their name. I usually don't bother blocking out people's names because usually I'm replying to like dumb racist comments or something. But someone said, if Candace is so wrong, why not let her be wrong? How does this affect you? I don't see you go this hard on anyone else. Do you not have other content to make? Now, I obviously make other content. We talked about a couple different things today. We talked about Jackie Hill Perry and her husband last week. For example, that's what we talked about on Friday. For a long, I think it was basically most of the time. I talk about Trump. We're obviously talking about Israel. We talk about transgender stuff a lot, stuff like Dylan Mulvaney and whatnot. Abortion, I talk about a lot. That's probably the topic I talk about the most. I obviously make other content. As far as like going after like another sort of influencer, it's probably been her the most. After a while, I was like nonstop on Dylan Mulvaney, which he did a video the other day dressed as Jesus. So I might have to bring him up again. But the reason why I don't just leave her alone, I guess, and that's a weird thing to say. I'm obviously a much smaller platform. So it's not like I'm picking on like I don't know, someone with a small channel or something like that. She has a tremendous reach. And I've been trying to get people to see Candace for a long time and her tactics and her lies and the propaganda that she's been spreading for a long time. And it takes a lot of time to go and watch, like when I did that whole like expose on like her beef with Ben Shapiro, that took a long time to put that together. The video where I showed how she deceives her audience, it took a long time to put together. The article that I posted the other day, it took a long time to put together. It's like a labor of love because I feel that it's important. I know she has like followers who aren't going to care. The people saying let her be wrong, that's so wild to me. But I mean, there's still people who are gonna say like, no, we stand by Candace. Candace is always right, blah blah blah. And people who won't read the articles or care about the articles and the receipts and other things that I put together, they're not gonna care. And there's gonna be people who just are bots who are uplifting her stuff. But I know there's people on the fence. I know there's people who are rational who maybe don't follow her content like super well, but they just have liked things in the past and they feel like what has happened to her, and I'm trying to lay it out like she's been like this. Like I think what she's done with this Charlie Kirk stuff is like next level evil, but she's been like this for a while, so I'm trying to lay that out for people. So they understand, and I'm trying to be understanding to these people who were fans of hers and are baffled. I'm trying to be considerate, but I'm talking about it a lot too because people are pushing back. I mean, she says crazy stuff all the time, like daily, and some of it's really dangerous. The stuff that she pushed against Josh Hammer could be very dangerous for him, and you're accusing him of being a part of some kind of conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk. I think that's worth debunking. Don't you think it's worth debunking and talking about? But she's going around calling herself a Christian while she's like being, kind of buddy with Islam or whatever. I find that to be wrong. So why wouldn't I talk about it? I think she's in error, just like I thought Jackie Hill Perry was in error last week, and I talked about it. I talked about the Pope, being in error. Did I not do that? Did I not do that? So yeah, why would I not critique that? But if you're calling yourself conservative and I see you kind of undermining the West and undermining the president, not just like you disagree with the president, saying that he's controlled by Zionists. She said one time that Donald Trump was like snorting lines of Israel and accused him of not wanting to release the Epstein files because of his Jewish daughter. Like, we're like, she's not in a good place. Like, I don't even understand this conspiracy theory with the FBI and Charlie Kirk and the covering it up and all this other stuff. Like, you think Kash Patel and the Trump administration is trying to cover up Charlie Kirk's death for what? For what? Why is it so hard to just accept that a trans activist kind of person, and the person was a trans, who's dating a trans person, thought Charlie Kirk's content was hateful and killed him for it? Why is that so hard to accept? Especially since we got video footage, photos, family turning him in, identifying him. We have DNA, the text messages, and I'm sure a bunch of evidence that are going to be laid out during the trial, but that's not for us to spread and talk about and see right now, because he has to have a fair trial. So so much of this stuff is really baffling, but I've seen Candace Owens spread blood libels. She will literally have neo-Nazis in her comments, put out conspiracy theories or whatever. Then she'll go look them up and then she'll spread them further. I've seen her just say a lot of things that were just untrue. So why should I stay silent about it, I guess, is my question. Like, why should I be silent? Why should I just let her be wrong? Like, it's even when the Myers story broke, all these people lying about Myers, and I'm like, no, I'm going to correct this. People are like, why does this matter to you? Because people are lying. It bothers me. I know this story is false. I've tracked down the leads. I've done some research. I watched a body cam, but it wasn't that hard actually to get most of the information. I called up, I emailed newspapers and they had to do corrections. Why wouldn't I care about this lie? Especially because people wanted to boycott a grocery store that I go to, and that's real people involved who could be hurt. Why don't you care about the truth? This isn't an opinion. It's right or wrong. It's right or wrong. Well, she's just asking questions. If I ask you how many times you beat your wife, that's a question too, but it's an accusation, is it not? It's an insinuation. So sometimes people aren't just asking questions. What she did to Josh Hammer wasn't asking questions. She's not just asking questions, guys. It's such a dishonest reply. So I'm baffled. I'm baffled by these people that are, why can't you just leave her alone? This seems personal. I have been trying. I'm so grateful that there's people waking up and looking around, just so confused about this Candace stuff. I'm so happy. And they're like, well, this is really out of character. It's not. It's not. It's not. And I want people to be aware of that. I want people to see that. I have been trying to get through to people for years about Candace. At least 2. At least 2 years now, consistently. But I always thought she was a risk for Daily Wire. I thought she was a little too spicy. I have stood up for Candace where I thought people were treating her unfairly, and I've always criticized her when I thought that she was wrong. But she has had some content that was just so wrong and going in a dark direction, and I do not want to see the right become like the radical left. It's being silent. All these people who knew that the dumb identity politics, shut up and affirm, white people are the devil kind of stuff, they were silent about that, and then it turned on them. And now there's this one Jewish content creator who was a Democrat, and he still considers himself to be a Democrat, but he knew the radical left was crazy, but he was quiet because he'd be like, okay, well, they're into this right now, and it's not my place to say anything. And then they turn on the Jews, and now he's like, okay, and now I'm homeless, politically homeless, because I still don't like Republicans and believe in Democrat values, but they clearly, want Israel to be wiped out or whatever. So he's in this weird place, but they let that stuff get that bad on the radical left, and with the trans issues and all kind of other stuff, and now they all have to bow down to it. You got this woman running for governor in Virginia can't just say, yeah, it's wrong for men to go into women's bathroom, it's wrong for sex offenders to go into girls' locker rooms and stuff, and do whatever kind of stuff in there. They can't just say that's wrong because they are so afraid of their base, their loud, aggressive base. I don't want that to become the right. So it affects me. And I care about the truth. And the more people push back and say dumb comments like that, it's going to make me push back and reply. That's why some videos I had so many like replies to certain subjects, because people keep saying dumb things. If people would just accept the truth, we can move on. But apparently we still have to debate it and bring things to light. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content, website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost to stream and run my site, all that good stuff. So you guys can support. I very much do appreciate it. And appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on the store. We got different like t-shirts and mugs and so on. Sorry. That you guys can check out. Also have books like Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. And of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, which that's the poster right behind me. Also, you guys can pre-order my book Bigger. There's a link in the description. It'll take you to my book website where you guys can order either paperback or a hardcover book of that. And if you guys are interested in the painting stuff, I should have like a tickets and stuff for that. Probably we're gonna hopefully have that up tomorrow. And God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.